Hello?
Hello?
Hello, hey, hi. Hello.
Yeah, it looks like it's working.
Okay, cool. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, good, yeah, just making sure. Okay, just making sure it works in the microphone as well. Hello? Good?
Yeah, I can hear it.
Okay,
Everything
good.
sounds like it's working for once.
Hooray! Thank you for coming on the show, General.
No problem.
Okay.
Glad to be here.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, I just wanted to start off by the first question I wanted to ask you was how are you actually? Just because hey, I'm nice like that, I think.
I'm doing pretty good.
Okay, so just
Nothing really out of the ordinary.
all right, sure, yeah, fair enough. Just to let people know who you are, what do you do, by the way? Who are you? What do you do? Just so the people at University of Harvard should know who you are listening right now.
I am
Hello?
reviews a variety of things. Games, books, movies, stuff like that.
All right.
The very name General Lotz is actually sort of a play on words, so to speak.
Okay.
It's not really a military designation. It's more of just I generally talk about a variety of topics.
All right, sure, yeah. And what first got you into that sort of thing, like video games and movies and stuff like that? What got you to that sort of thing?
Reviewing these things, I was looking for a creative outlet. This was around 2008. I wanted something to do that was creative, but didn't take up a lot of space. Prior to that, I used to build model kits, but I ran out of room to store them. Started doing videos because, well, it took a lot of creative energy, and it was fun to do.
Okay. And what sort of model kits were you making, though, if you don't mind me asking?
Like Star Trek kits, like for the Enterprise. I did a Sulaco kit from Alien.
Very nice.
One of my best eBay finds.
Indeed. Another thing I wanted to ask was like, so what was, how long does it usually take you to do a review and stuff like that? So what sort of, how long does it usually take to do one once you put your mind to it?
Well, that depends on how long it's going to be. If it's like, say, 2 to 3 days, the reviews I've been doing recently have been over 20 minutes.
Wow.
And those will take about a week to 2 weeks. It takes several days to get gameplay footage. For example, the last review I did was Call of Duty 4.
All right.
The review itself is 27 minutes. The gameplay footage took a couple days to get, and I had roughly 5 hours of gameplay footage.
Wow.
So, in order to make a review, you have to have gameplay footage, you have to have audio recordings, you have to have video recordings, and then you have to edit it all together. And editing gameplay footage alone took a day. Because that's 5 hours you have to go through to find the exact clips that you want to get.
What would you say your favourite game is and stuff like that, or, at least, like, some of your favourite games?
Favorite game, that's always hard to pick, because I like a lot of different games, and they're all from different genres. I guess my single favorite game, I don't know.
All right.
I get asked that question a lot in these interviews, and it's like, I never can give a good answer, because there's just so many that could take up the number one slot. So I kind of like, I go by category, basically. Like, for FPS, Doom 1993, still number one.
Fair enough.
For RPGs, that will, of course, be Knights of the Old Republic 2.
All right.
Just the story in that is really good, and I'm a big Star Wars fan. For RTS, Sins of a Solar Empire, used to be that would have been Star Wars Forces of Corruption, but Sins of a Solar Empire is just a lot more modular than Forces of Corruption will be. And then for third-person shooter, I don't know. I haven't played a third-person shooter in a while, so I can't think of what would be my absolute favorite on that.
Neither would.
I don't know. Let me think here. Maybe Resident Evil 4, but I don't really count that as a third-person shooter, so I don't know.
Yeah.
Favorite survival horror, though, would still be Dead Space 1.
All right. I'm just trying to think. It's just stuff. And what's your favorite game that you reviewed? Like, or maybe just your best review you think?
Doom.
Okay.
1993. That one. That's actually the most popular review up on the channel right now. That was just, it all came together, It's just like, it flowed from my brain, to the keyboard when I was writing out the script, and the whole thing went well. The second one that would be my favorite would be Alien vs. Predator Classic 2000. That one was another one of those flowing ones.
All right. Because I actually own that game. Funnily enough, I got it like a like a car boot sale, the collectible, and I remember really enjoying it and stuff like that. And I know you're a huge Alien fan, as am I. Funnily enough. What do you think?
It's a good franchise.
Indeed, first was one of my favorites. What do you think of the speaking of Alien? What do you think of the new one that came out this year, Alien Covenant? Do I dare ask? Because I know you didn't like Prometheus.
I honestly haven't seen it. After seeing a few of the trailers, it just looked really, really. It honestly looked like a TV movie to me. I know it's going to make some people mad, but it looked like it was going to be of TV movie quality. That doesn't necessarily mean that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just, I think Ridley Scott has forgotten what made Alien good to begin with. And to me, now this could just be me. I'm not saying this is definitive. It just seemed like they're turning the xenomorph itself from this unknowable alien creature into basically a knockoff Velociraptor from Jurassic Park.
Oh yeah, that's one of the things I found with the first Prometheus. They seem to pay homage a lot more to Jurassic Park than they did to the original Alien. Like, there's an old guy trying to find something. There's archaeologists doing this and that. There's all this stuff involving DNA. And funnily enough, on that topic, there's a thing in Alien Covenant which I think proves your point because I'm not sure. Should I spoil it for you, or are you gonna?
No, go ahead.
Oh, because there's this part in Alien Covenant where they explain where the aliens came from, apparently.
Oh yeah, I remember hearing about that.
Yeah, because I remember seeing.
No, go on.
I remember seeing that at the theatre, being from Blighty. I saw it at where was it? I think it was Greenwich, and I remember being so disappointed when they revealed that, because it turns out that David, it's spoilers for anyone who's wants to see Alien Covenant. It turns out that David made them. Turns out that David made the eggs and stuff like that, and sort of this really lazy about way he apparently made them while he was on Prometheus involving Shaw's DNA or some nonsense like that. Hello? Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah, I just found that very interesting, and, Sorry, you go first. Hello? Make it okay? Okay, you good? Oh, yeah, good. Give me a second. Hello? Hello? That's alright, folks, just some technical difficulties. Sorry about that, it's just seeing there's some issues. Hello? Have we got you back? Hello? Have we got you back on the line, or?
Yeah.
Yep, I can hear you. By the way, it just sounds a bit bitty.
Might try to...
Nearly, we had you for. Hello.
Try the Discord.
Oh, try the what? Sorry. Try the what? Sorry, I'm just gonna Oh, I can do the typing actually. Here we go.
That will sometimes fix connection issues.
Okay, fair enough. There we go. Anyway, we were just talking about Alien Covenant, weren't we? About how David's the one who who made the aliens.
Yeah, that's just so dumb. The original concept from the old Dark Horse comics was that they were created by the engineers, as they're called today, like millions of years in the past, which I thought was much better than David. They're really trying to push that guy into a major role, I guess. Yeah. But then again, it is Michael Fassbender, and he's really popular.
To be honest, I think...
Although I feel like he's a little overrated.
I'm not sure. I think he's the best character out of any of those movies, if I'm honest. Out of all the characters, he's the only one who actually has any freedom. You know, who actually isn't just there to be killed.
Well, that's true. That's true. I will admit that.
Yeah, and it doesn't make sense of the timeline either, given the fact that there's two Alien vs Predator movies that come before, and there's a Alien Skull and Predator 2. So I'm not sure how Ridley's going to tie all the knots together. Pretty much, it just seems like they're making it up as they go along.
Yeah, it looks like they're doing the same thing that Lost did. The latter seasons of Lost, where they just kind of they didn't really have a plan for ending the series, and so they just kept making things up. Yeah, I don't know. As far as I'm concerned, the Alien series is dead.
I actually personally quite like Covenant. I preferred it much better to Prometheus, which I thought was utterly terrible.
Well, I don't know. Maybe I'll give it a chance one day, but
I understand.
Yes, I was so excited for that.
I remember seeing Prometheus in preparation for preparation for Covenant, and I was so angry at the end, especially when they had the gall to throw in the xenomorph in there, like how insulting to my intelligence. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. What were your views on Prometheus? Because I know you didn't like it very much either. You called it like lowest common denominator trash or something, I think, on a live stream.
I basically said it was trying to ape 2001. It's trying to be arty, but it doesn't know how to be.
Yeah. Sorry, you go first.
I was just gonna say, when I went to see it in the theaters, I already knew the movie was not going to be very good within the first 5 minutes.
Oh god!
And they had this big sweeping pan of this waterfall. It's like, oh god, they're going to go for the artistic stylings.
I wasn't bothered by that. I, personally would have liked it more if they had the conviction to actually do it, because I felt the biggest problem was that they played too much of the Michael Bay idiocy thing, and it always bothers me when people defend Prometheus on the ground that it's intelligent sci-fi, yet it doesn't understand basic stuff about DNA.
Well, it's not just that. There's also issues with the characters. It's like they have this map-making robot, and yet they don't have a map. Like,
yeah. Or they, they lose, the people who made the map, get lost, or whatever that happens in that cave, or, all the stupid contrivances that go on.
Yeah, why would they want them to bring weed into space? Wouldn't you have checked for that?
Yeah.
Just a well-put-together movie. I can think of at least 5 other, really low-budget sci-fi movies that are Supernova.
Yeah. I completely agree and stuff like that. And honestly, I think it's the worst out of the series, even though, to be fair, I haven't seen Alien 3 or Covenant yet, to be fair. Sorry, not Covenant, Resurrection yet. So I could just be hyperbole-ish, but out of the ones I've seen, I think it's worse than the Alien vs Predator movies, because at least those were, low-brow, and they knew they were low-brow, I think. Prometheus is low-brow, but has the gall to be pretentious. I think that's what made it worse.
Yeah, I could agree with that, although Alien vs Predator 1 is just insufferably dull most of the time. And, at the end, it's funny how a lot of the latter-day aliens really do draw from Jurassic Park is like the alien queen at the very end of Alien vs. Predator basically is the T-Rex.
Yeah,
it's the T-Rex. It moves like the T-Rex. It acts like the T-Rex.
Yeah, that's what I thought as well. Even though I don't mind the first one too much, but mostly because at least it knows it's lowbrow as opposed to Prometheus, which doesn't. It thinks it's like high art and then panders to all like the sort of moronic, modern day sci-fi convention of having the characters be really stupid and not act like scientists.
Yeah. And then let's not forget, like, the person running directly under the ship instead of going
left or right. Yeah. Which, and I think, at least Ridley Scott, I think, apologised for how bad the first one was. At least I remember, apparently something like that.
Well, I'm not surprised, because it wasn't very good.
Yeah. And, it just came across as a film that had, potential. I think there's good scenes in Prometheus. Like, I didn't even mind the opening scene that you talked about. I thought it was actually quite nice. But I think there's good bits. There's a good movie in there, but it's been buried under numerous rewrites, numerous, reshoots, and clearly a bunch of accountants at Fox going, that's what we want to see, that's what we want to see.
I don't know if I'd say that there's any... I don't see any salvageable bits in it, though. It feels artificial in many respects. Basically, I think you could say that Prometheus is the Alien equivalent to Episode 1. And that these days, Ridley Scott has kind of become like George Lucas was when he did Episode 1. He has no creative control. There's no control on his creativity. And I think some of these directors need some of that control.
Yeah.
They need some people to pull them down and say, look, this is really dumb, don't add it.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that's just one of the problems these days.
Yeah, indeed. And, admittedly, even though, I definitely agree, especially with a lot of all the stupid hacks in Hollywood these days.
That's a fact.
Yeah.
And also, now that I think of it, I think there's one other problem with Prometheus and possibly Covenant, even though I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
Is a lot of the actors just didn't really own any of their roles.
Oh yeah.
If you look at Alien, every character in that movie, including the alien itself, owned their roles. If it hadn't been for the actors playing them, the characters just would not have been as good.
Yeah, that's very true. And, because I remember the only sort of people who left any sort of impression in the first Prometheus was Charlize Theron and Michael Fassbender. And Charlize Theron was the only one who had any sort of character because she was a pardon my French, snarky bitch. And that's, in Prometheus, that's a character as opposed to all the other bland, dead meat that was there.
Yeah. Anyway, so...
Yeah.
But sadly, that is the problem with modern day movies. It's more about the special effects and less about the actual actors. Back in the day, you had good special effects because Alien 1 did have good special effects.
Oh yeah.
It really relied on the characters to sell what they had. Now it's just let the VFX sell the movie, not the actual character interactions.
Yeah.
It's like I'm not one of those people that's like, oh, it's CG, that's bad. No, CG is fine. But when you have the CG, when you have the special effects, try to replace the actors themselves, that's when you have a problem.
Yeah.
I think.
Oh, you go first.
I was just saying, I think that's one of the problems with modern day cinema is just there's not a good enough emphasis on actual character versus the special effect. Basically, the characters make the special effects special.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's just, things happening on screen.
That was one of my problems with, have you seen Blade Runner 2049, by the way, before I say anything?
Not yet.
Yeah.
I'm not getting a chance to.
Admittedly, because that's one of the things I felt about Blade Runner 2049, which, I know it's probably going to get a lot of hate for this, is that felt like to me, because it's a very beautiful movie to look at, but I found it so boring because none of these characters are interesting. And they even turned sort of, admittedly, from my point of view, they turned Deckard to like a very, sort of interesting, cool character in the original to like a belligerent drunk in the second one, which I think is slightly insulting. And they kill off Rachel and stuff like that, so... Sorry, I don't mean to spoil it for you. It's just... Sorry, I forgot to... That's okay,
that's okay. Really, spoilers shouldn't be that big of a deal anyway. The movie should still be able to stand on its own.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
They seem to do that to Harrison Ford often, though.
Yeah, indeed.
They always turn him into this salty, old, bitter man. And I just that's not what Harrison Ford is supposed to be.
Well, who knows? Maybe he's not acting. Maybe he just wandered onto the set and just decided to ad lib.
Hey, that could have happened.
Yeah. Yeah, basically, I prefer the original much superior. At least I could say this. At least Ridley Scott didn't bore me for 2 hours and 49 minutes on end with a Blade Runner sequel, as opposed to whoever directed it. Even though I know he's still heavily involved in the second one. Have you seen the original? Or was that a really stupid question?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
I saw the original Blade Runner.
Yeah, I really like it, and I just saw the sequel, My Dad in Islington, and I just thought it was like 2 hours and 49 minutes. It was so boring and long, and they don't do anything. There was, you talk about like modern movies being like dumbed down and stuff like that. There was like dog fights in Blade Runner 2049. There was like fist fights and a resistance subplot, and I'm thinking, am I watching a Independence Day or like a Hunger Games ripoff? Am I watching a Blade Runner film? I feel a little bit like,
Well, they do like to pick what a lot of modern day films like to pick that like to basically take ideas from what the kids like.
Oh,
and the
God.
kids like the Hunger Games.
even though they're not that good.
I actually saw the first two Hunger Games. They were adequate movies. I didn't think they were bad. It's just it's one of those movies that thanks to modern day social media, people blow them up as like the greatest film ever made or the greatest films ever made.
Yeah,
they're decent entertainment.
Yeah, it's like same thing here. Because my sister actually loves the books, and she found like the first one slightly lacking. She liked it, but she found it slightly lacking and stuff like that. And just admittedly, I'm not the biggest fan of. Admittedly, the third one I actually quite like. It's the only one with any actual character and story development, which is probably why a lot of people didn't like it. Sorry to sound snobbish, but yeah, that's my opinion on it. Do you?
I haven't seen the third one.
Yeah. Oh, third one's worth watching. I haven't seen the fourth one yet. My sister didn't particularly like it. She's a fan of the books. Are there any like modern movies that you do like? Because I can't really think of very many.
Pacific Rim is the first one that comes to mind.
Mm-hmm.
For a movie about giant robots beating up giant monsters, it actually does have good characters in it. They're basic archetypes, but the actors portray them well, and they're fun archetypes. Not all archetypes are bad, and the whole movie just really was put together quite well. It didn't get preachy, it didn't get dull. It knew what it was, and it owned that. And since it knew what it was, it did what it wanted to do well. And it's very easy to make a movie as simplistic as giant robots punching giant monsters. You can do that bad. It's not easy to do that and have it actually be legitimately entertaining. Just look at those Transformers movies.
I knew that was going to come up.
Yeah, I mean, it's like they didn't have an annoying kid character. They didn't have an annoying teen character. They had, your basic leadership kind of guy. You had the female character who was not really a love interest, but was there and actually did contribute to the story. You had, a head leader kind of character who was the mentor to the main character. It's like, it's some basic stuff, but some basic storytelling works, and it's not an easy thing to get right these days.
Yeah, literally. Actually, I remember you saying like Moonrise Kingdom, the Wes Anderson film, came out in 2012. Was your new favorite film? I think I remember reading. So.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that one. Yeah, that is still one of my favorite films, just because I really like the characters. The kid actors did a really good job in that.
Actually, yeah, I quite like Wes Anderson's style of filmmaking. I saw his version of Fantastic Mr. Fox a couple of years back when I was about 12, and I really fell in love with him. I need to see more of his movies. Actually, have you seen any of them beyond Moonrise Kingdom?
No, I haven't. I probably should. I just haven't really had a desire to.
Yeah.
Just Moonrise Kingdom. One of the not just the characters were good, but just the cinematography worked really well. Just the whole package was quite nice.
Yeah.
And I saw a lot of myself in the main kid character, because I was kind of like that as a kid.
Yeah.
So it kind of resonated with me.
Yeah. Another thing, there's other modern movies that inspire me much. I remember watching a Terry Gilliam film a couple of years back called The Zero Film, which I fell in love with, and I thought that was fantastic. And I recommend everyone who's listening go watch that and stuff like that. And funnily enough, one of the guests I was speaking to earlier, a woman called Anne-Marie Waters, who's leading a political party in this country called For Britain. Actually, also, she's a little bit of a, film, more horror movie nerd, and she talks about horror movie, thing, and she talks about how she doesn't really rate much like modern cinema. So, what do you think, given how many people like to have dissatisfaction with modern cinema, why do you think there's still such, I guess, people going gaga over, like, say, a new Hunger Games film or something like that, given all, I guess, sort of the backlash that a lot of mainstream cinema has these days?
I think it's a lot of the hype.
Yeah.
It's like, this... See, it's like, some will say it's the greatest thing ever just to, fit in. Some will say it's crap, but, well, they still went to see it, didn't they?
Yeah. Mm.
Some modern horror is not too bad.
Yeah.
I never was a big horror fan back in the day, but these days I've started to enjoy it more. I do recommend seeing, I can't remember the name of the movie, Oculus, that's the one.
Oh, yeah, about the possessed mirror.
Yeah, the Evil Mirror movie. I saw that in theaters. It was actually pretty good. I was impressed by it.
Yeah. Admittedly, I quite like The Conjuring 2, actually, just because it was, admittedly, partially I might be biased that because it was set in my hometown.
I never heard of that.
Oh, Conjuring 2 is actually...
I haven't forgot.
Conjuring 2 is actually quite good. I mean, it's not particularly great as a horror movie because it's all jump scares and stuff, and the villains are really weak in that film, but I think it's entertaining and it's a very likeable film. It works better as a comedy drama than a horror, which sounds bizarre, but if you watch the film, it actually works quite much better that way. It works more as like an entertaining excitement piece than, just a general horror, really.
I might need to check that out.
Indeed. And
also, You're Next is a good one to check out, too.
I've heard good things, yeah. Admittedly, one horror I quite like, which I know people will probably give me endless shit for, is I quite like the original Saw, actually. Personally, the original, I haven't seeing any of the sequels.
I never saw the Saw movies. I never was a big fan of the whole torture porn genre. Because it just seems a bit predictable to me. It's like, oh, here's 5 people. Here is a crazy psychopath. They're on a collision course for wackiness.
It just sounds like a typical Three Stooges sketch, or I'm probably misrepresenting that because I've never seen it.
Well, I don't know. You could say that.
I don't know. I just don't want to come across as a total schlub.
Well, I haven't seen any Three Stooges in many, many years. I used to watch that when it came on TV. But it used to come on, I think, Turner Classic Movies, I think, had them for a while. Mm-hmm. They might still be on. I just don't watch TV anymore.
Yeah, neither do. I don't really watch much TV anymore, even though my cousin is a reality star now, which, this crazy world is a reality star. He's going to be on next week, I think.
Huh. On what?
He's on a show called The Only Way Is Essex, which I'm not going to slag off here, just simply because he's my cousin, and I'm not going to slag off, what pays in the bills. And funnily enough, he was actually on a show in this country called Release the Hounds, where it's like a horror-themed survival adventure. They, because I'm assuming Lionsgate gave them like a promotion thing, they had a saw trap in there, which I found quite funny. And he was doing it, so I found it quite funny.
Release the Hounds. What has he got, Mr. Burns as the main?
Yeah, that's the first thing I thought when I heard of the show. It's just, the thing it refers to is like there's an end thing where the dogs are chasing, like, because the guys have a bag of money on the back and they're running to a ladder and hounds are chasing them. Yeah, thank God it's not My Little Cockapoo, otherwise, they'd have serious ramifications.
I would say so.
Do you own any...
Release the Hounds, Smithers.
Release the hounds. And, do you own any pets, by the way? Just, just trying to find a question to ask it. Yeah. Do you own any pets or not?
No. I don't dislike animals. It's just, they take a lot of work to keep up, You gotta feed them, you gotta clean up after them, you gotta take them to the vet all the time.
Yep.
I did have a cat at one time, but sadly it has long since passed on.
Oh, sorry to hear that.
That's just how it goes, I suppose. But other than that, not really. And also, I don't like the idea of having a pet and having it die, because pets don't live very long. Like a cat will only live, at most, 20, 30 years? Assuming they live that long, so it's just, you get emotionally invested in these things, and then they die, and then,
and maybe to make it a bit more light, actually, what do you think about modern gaming and stuff like that? Because I know you play stuff like the new Wolfenstein games and stuff like that. What do you think of the, modern gaming scene and stuff like that, do you think? What do you think about it?
Modern gaming, I think, is suffering from some of the problems that modern cinema does, is there's that big emphasis on scripting. Wolfenstein 2 is a very divisive game. Even on my channel, people are like, "Yeah, it's still
Really?
very." Yeah, people like to say it's, for want of a better word, more social justice-y.
Oh no! Oh,
Yeah.
God.
I don't really see that. I think a lot of people who say that are just regurgitating things they've seen
On
elsewhere.
Polygon.
Yeah.
Mm.
Some places like that, you know, they haven't played it or even watched the full review. They just watched like 5 minutes of my review and then just stopped.
Yeah.
Because I kind of debunked that whole thing.
Yeah.
But other than Wolfenstein, a lot of modern games just don't really interest me.
Yeah.
They're just not. They're not as advanced as some older games. Modern games are very afraid of letting the player play.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, independent games are a little different, you know, like No Man's Sky. Although I have not played that
Neither have I.
as of yet.
Mm.
It's a very open-ended game. It's very. The only problem with No Man's Sky, I almost called it Old Man's Sky. No Man's Sky, I think the biggest problem with that is it doesn't give you enough direction. It goes in the other extreme. It doesn't tell you what you need to do and when you need to do it sometimes.
Well, are there any recent titles that you like and stuff like that? Are there any particular titles?
Well, there's Wolfenstein. There's Prey 2017.
Oh yeah.
Let's see. There's Dark Souls 3. Still turned out good. All that was from last year. Let's see. There's several. Resident Evil 7 is also pretty good.
I haven't played that actually.
It's really good. It's actually very creepy. They do a good job of it. Really.
Because I remember the first Resident Evil, and particularly Code Veronica, which I think is highly underrated, being very creepy. Because I remember Code Veronica was the first time I ever played a game and felt actually kind of nervous by what was happening. Because there's when you open, one of the times you open the door, I felt actually sort of freaked out about what was going to happen. That's the first time I've had that with any sort of game. Do you like the Resident Evil games?
Yeah. I like them now, but back in the day, I just couldn't stand them. It took me a while to finally enjoy them.
Okay.
Actually came about because for a little while my graphics card in my computer had died and I had to use a really crappy one, and one of the only games I could play was Resident Evil 1.
All right.
And I actually played it all the way through, and that's when I really got hooked on the series.
All right, sure, yeah. Yeah, and I agree with you. I find indie game a lot more interesting. I find stuff like Black Rose and Slender and stuff like SCP I find a lot more interesting than, say, a lot of the games that are out, actually. Because I find them a little bit more creative and a little bit more interesting.
Yeah, a lot of the problems with modern gaming does come down to the fact that a lot of the passion is gone from game development, and it's more about making a good profit in the fourth quarter. Case in point, Battlefront 2, all that controversy about the loot boxes and all the rest, where you have to pay to win to actually do well in the multiplayer. The single player doesn't sound much better, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, I've heard of all the controversy about that. Isn't it like you have to pay like $50 or pounds or whatever to get like certain characters or something like that? That's what I've heard.
You got it. Well, on top of the base price, which is $60,
Jesus.
You then have to. You can unlock different characters normally, but it takes a really, really long time. Or you can take out the old credit card and pay X number of dollars to unlock a character or unlock certain skills and things of that nature.
All right. So they ask, what Rothschild or JP Morgan banker works for EA again?
I don't know. But hey, it makes money, so you can't fault them for wanting to make money. But at the same time, that is kind of skeevy, and people are really mad about it. And they lost, I think, something like $3 billion.
Jesus.
A fitting end, I should say.
Yes. Another thing I wanted to ask was that you talk about social justice in gaming. How big of a problem do you feel it is of stuff like that in gaming generally?
It's hard to say. The games I play don't have it in it, but really where that plays a role is just in the gaming community, so to speak. There'll be people complaining about all sorts of idiotic crap, and I guess it's annoying. It's annoying because some of the developers do listen to it, and they potentially make the game that much worse. Like Mass Effect Andromeda.
Oh yeah.
There was some weird belief that attractive women were bad, and so they went in and made all the women look ugly. Like, that's not really gonna do anything.
That's a bit patronizing.
Like, it's not progress, it's just stupid.
Yeah, I think that's demeaning to women, actually. Oh, you can't be attractive, why not? Oh, because some people don't like it. Oh, why can't I be? You know.
Exactly. And then, it really comes down to how much you interact with the gaming community as a whole. I don't really, so it doesn't really affect me, but apparently there's people that just go on about, oh, a woman was attacked in a game, and therefore that's bad. Like,
how many men get killed in games again?
Yeah, so I don't know where they come up with this stuff. Then for a little while, there was like saying there's no female characters in gaming, which wasn't true since like 1995.
Yeah.
It's people trying to get. What it really comes down to is it's people trying to get popular by saying things that are clickbait. That's really what it comes down to.
Like Anita Sarkeesian and Brianna Wu and Zoe Quinn and stuff like that.
Yeah, if they say something that sounds edgy or clickbaity enough, they'll get popular and they'll make money. So that's just something that has been going on. Honestly, with the people I talk to and the places I tread on the internet, it's not really that big of a deal. And the games that I play don't really have it in it either. Like Prey 2017 didn't have anything like that in it. Wolfenstein didn't have anything like that in it. If anything, it kind of deconstructed the very concept of modern day social justice,
Would you say on that topic, would you say that you were what was your opinion on, say, stuff like Gamergate then, if you don't mind me asking?
I actually for the longest time didn't even pay any attention to it. That happened, I think, in 2014?
Yeah, 2014. It's only because we were talking about social justice warriors and gaming I thought it was appropriate to talk about, if you don't mind me asking.
Yeah, in 2014 I didn't really care. I was much too focused back then on my own life.
Fair enough.
And there was stuff going on back then, and so I was like, oh yeah, that's a thing. These days, it's one of those things where a lot of people miss the point. They're trying to say that it's like violence towards women when as far as I know, it all started because there was like some corruption going on in the game reviewing market. That's like, how does that have anything to do with women or social causes? It's this person was corrupt, they did a corrupt thing, and now they're being punished for it. This is not. Where does this fall into abuse? You got caught doing something. Well, I don't know if it's illegal or not. You got caught doing something that was really underhanded. Yeah. But we live in an era where if you get caught doing something bad, you're not a bad person, a hero. Because reasons.
Yeah, exactly. Because I find that people would say, because I was much more pro Gamergate, and I think more actually think you were, if you don't know what I'm saying. I find it just that people would say I'm a sexist, and yet I've backed. I think that's absurd. I love women. I've backed many in politics. Actually, the one who the last guest I just had was is a female leader of a political party who I'm a part of. So you can't. I find it interesting that they do say that and stuff like that, even though it doesn't hold any water. I also remember backing a woman called Diane James as well, who was leader of a party. Another party I like called UKIP in this country, and so they can throw out the sexist card all they want, but it's so absurdly wrong, especially when it demeans actual people who are being sexist and misogynist in the real world, I think.
Yeah, it really just comes down to these people are, they're mad they got caught, so they're trying to make up every excuse they can to either deny it or make people not pay attention to it.
Yeah.
It's just, people like to make excuses for everything they do. And if they can say, I didn't do it, people are sexist. The two don't go together. Yeah. You did something wrong.
Which, if you don't, I find that sort of interesting stuff like that. Do you think that's also a problem for politics in, reality as well? Or, is that a really stupid question to ask because of how obvious the answer is?
Well, yeah, that is how politics goes. Ugh, politics. The thing that's funny, though, politics today is really no worse than it was 20 years ago. It seems that way because we know more about it.
Yeah, that's a good point.
It's easier to find out about all these scandals now, which is actually a good thing.
Yeah.
It's very good to have all this information come out so that you know what's going on. Back in the day, it was a little easier to hide it, but usually it would come out, but people would notice, people would care. Now, a lot of the stuff is a lot more in your face. You know, you can get updates on Facebook, you get updates on Reddit, you know what's going on in the world. And so, politics today is bad, don't get me wrong. But I don't think it's as bad as people make it out to be. There's a lot of hyperbole today.
Oh my god, yeah.
It's not just somebody did something idiotic. It's now the world shall come to an end.
Exactly. Oh my god. Yeah. By the on that subject, is there any? You could just tell me to shut up and mind my own business. Did you support anyone in last year's presidential election, or you could just tell me to leave
Well, what's funny? I was thinking about that just the other day. This presidential election was, here's two bad options. I considered it like Alien versus Predator. Which do you go for, right? You're screwed no matter what you do.
Which one's which?
Yeah. I don't really like to talk about who I voted for just because it does cause a lot of problems.
Fair enough.
But
yeah.
I will say this. I was aware that both candidates were pretty bad. I'm not one of those people that's like, this candidate is better than all others. It's like, no, it's Alien or Predator. Which one? How bad do you want to be screwed? That's the question.
Oh, right. Do I dare ask which is which? Young one.
That's a better question.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Admittedly, I'm maybe a little bit more sympathetic to one of the candidates saying you were, and I think, I did back who in last year's election campaign partly just because of how bad the other one was, admittedly, Yeah.
Well, it's understandable. It's basically, here's my thing. It's understandable to vote for either one. It really is, because you're still getting a bad one. It just depends on which one you think is worse.
Yeah.
And one of the we'll touch on this for a moment, though.
Okay.
One of the problems today also is you can vote for whatever candidate you want. That is your right as a human being. You have the right to choose.
Yeah.
Simple as that. And no one should hold your choice against you. These days, it's like, you must choose who I believe is the best. No, I can choose who I want.
Yeah. Otherwise, Miley's going to leave the USA. Ugh.
Oh, no.
Oh.
She did, so.
No. Admittedly, if some of these idiot celebrities in this country said that they were going to leave the country if, this person gets in, that would make me vote for them. Like if, say, Gary Lineker or Lily Allen, two very left-wing people in this country, said, we're going to leave if, X party here would, if this party would win, then yeah, I'd probably vote for them, except out of party loyalty, I probably wouldn't.
Yeah. I don't know. It's hard to say.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it's a mess.
Indeed, yes. Especially in this country, Teresa the Appeaser.
Oh, yeah, I've heard some of that, but I don't really know all the details. I can barely figure out what's going on here, much less somewhere else.
Yeah. Just remember the name Teresa the Appeaser, or as I think a journalist called Peter Hitchens likes to call her, Mrs. Slippery.
But, well, if half of what I've read is true, then yeah, that would work. I think also she wanted to really police the internet over there.
Oh yeah, she did. She wanted to have security stuff and get rid, make sure companies can't encrypt or whatever. So, which seems a bit stupid given all. I'm pretty sure all her big bank donors would be like, what?
Yeah, did that pass? I hope it didn't.
Oh no! It hasn't come anywhere near to fruition because she didn't, get a minority government. We had a socialist guy called Jeremy Corbyn stop her from doing that, which, again, like you were saying, Alien vs. Predator, which to choose.
Yeah.
It's thankful. I didn't choose either, so.
Well, sometimes that's the best choice all around,
Yeah. I'd rather not go with, I'm not sure who I'd say the alien or the predator is, that might get me some trouble, because I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Be careful if you're at college. You never know.
Yeah. Because I know I have a lot of Corbyn supporters in this college who probably think I'm, evil and stuff like that for comparing it to, a xenomorph or a predator, but.
Hey, you can just say, I think he's as strong as one or the other.
Yeah. I'd rather much have someone from the Monster Raving Loony Party. At least then, And actually, on the topic of encryption, you're a very big fan of MAME, I think, aren't you?
What?
Of MAME, the multiple arcade machine emulator.
Yeah.
What first got your attention on MAME and stuff like that? What made you firstly aware of it?
I almost don't remember. Oh, yeah, no, I do. Okay, I was on the website Emulator Zone. This was around 2008. I saw this emulator called MAME. I was like, what is this? And it kind of went from there. Interestingly enough, the very first game review I ever did was of Aliens, the arcade game.
Yeah.
And I discovered that completely by accident. I downloaded the Aliens, the arcade game ROM, but I hadn't played it. I just kind of put it in my ROM folder, and then randomly I was like, oh, Aliens? I clicked on it, I was like, wow, this game's really great. Why does no one else talk about it? And, well, that kind of led to the reviews of games.
Yeah, I own MAME, and I own quite a lot of games for it. What would you say your favourite game to play on MAME is?
Well, this is such a generic answer, but it's true. Aliens vs. Predator, the arcade game. That game is great because that's a Capcom side-scrolling beat 'em up.
Yeah.
There's like so many moves you can do. There's so many power-ups. It's one of the few games where you can, as a Predator, pick up a pulse rifle and shoot aliens with. I actually did a Let's Play many years ago. What's funny is that game's a 3-player game, not a 4-player, because there's 4 characters you can choose from, but you only can play a 3-player. It's really weird. I played that game 3-player through Caliera Net clients. I don't know if the Caliera server still exists today.
All right. Yeah.
But I played it with a person in California and New Jersey. Okay, all across the U.S. all playing this one game. It was a lot of fun, actually. It ran really good. But I was able to defeat the final boss as the Predator throwing a katana. That was the final blow struck in that game. It was awesome. It was like the most awesome moment I've had in any game. Because it was such an organic moment. It wasn't scripted. It was just, I just so happened to pick up a katana that was on the ground and throw it at the queen to get the final blow. It was great.
Yeah, actually, I like a lot of MAME games. I like Crypt Killer as well and stuff like that. And I just find it, very, I like a lot of those games. I find the Alien franchise just as a whole very interesting. Admittedly, I prefer it a little bit more to the Predator franchise, which, from my personal recollection, hasn't had really many good movies beyond the first one, I don't think.
Predator is pretty good. I'm a big fan of Predator myself, actually. Predator was good. It was a serviceable movie.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure about Predators, but I'm agree to disagree on that one because I could go why I didn't like it, but.
It could have been. I've been waiting for so long for another Predator movie that.
Oh yeah.
Finally.
Yeah.
Predator 2 isn't quite as bad as people say it is.
Well, I don't think it's terrible. I just don't think it's particularly good, and I don't like the pacing of it. I think is very off. Like it takes I think longer for the Predators to actually start doing anything than in the original, or like show himself fully, which I find a bit strange.
I agree with that one.
Admittedly, I do like some of the aspects. Like I like the fact that there's a Xenomorph skull in there, which I find quite funny.
Yes, that was really cool. I think there's a lot of missed opportunities in Predator 2.
Oh yeah.
At the very end, you see all the Predators decloak. It's like, why couldn't they have been in the movie? It's like, why just now? It's such a tease, and then you get to wait 20 years. No, it's more than 20 years.
No, well, 20 years, 1990 to 2010. Yeah, 20 years.
Okay, there it is. 20 years for another movie. 20! 20!
Hopefully the new one next year will be good. I like Shane Black as a filmmaker. I quite like Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. I hope it's good, the one next year.
I'm hoping it is. I just don't like the name, The Predator.
So generic.
Yeah, it's like you start out with like Fast and Furious 2, 3, and then 4, and then The Fast and Furious. It's like, really?
Yeah, that's something you said, like, why could, the fact that Doom 3 was a remake of the first one, but they still called it Doom 3 to differentiate, why can't some of these other franchises be bothered, which, I could agree, because I think they're so, such a boring one to plump in front of it, it's just so lazy.
Yeah, I think also today they do that just so so the new movie will show up first in the Google search.
Yeah. That's a good point, easy marketing. I was thinking, at an earlier point you were saying about how, why couldn't they have more of the Predators show up and stuff like that, like in the film. I was thinking, surely Rupert Murdoch could have coughed up another, million, or was he too busy buying Manchester United at the time? I can't remember.
Well, that's always, the Predator movies always get shafted. They always do. I would say this, though. Predators, I know that's that's a movie that's somewhat controversial. But
Is
I
it?
would say that Predators is at the very least better than Prometheus.
I'm not sure, but at least I would say Predators knew what it was, as opposed to Prometheus, which was trying to be pretentious.
Well, there you go.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm just trying to figure something to say. What other sort of like things are you into? Like, I know you read a lot. What any particular books you've read recently that you've quite?
Right now, I'm actually reading a book called The Dragons of Dorcastle by Jack Campbell.
All right.
It's a very... I'm tempted to review this novel, actually, because nobody ever watches the book reviews. People just aren't really into those.
Yeah, I watched your Resident Evil book review. I think I quite like that one.
That is one of the more popular ones. People do like that one.
Mm.
The Resident Evil books are really good. I highly recommend those. Actually, funny, back when they first came out, this was a long time ago, back when I was in middle school, people would literally rent them out to people. I'm not even joking. Like, you pay like $1, and people would you read it. I had them myself, so I didn't have to do that, but that was something that you'd see, because people liked those books so much back then.
Yeah.
But Dragons of Dorcastle, it's a interesting little fantasy book. It's where you've got mages who use magic and mechanics who use technology, and the two main characters, one's a mage, one's a mechanic, and they have a course set for wackiness.
Yay!
They gotta work together. It's really good. It's very, very well written. The characters
Yeah.
legitimately likable.
Yeah, speaking of which, I remember I think it was your review for Jurassic Park, the arcade game you brought up, like a book called, was it Scarecrow, I think it was called?
Oh yeah, Scarecrow, yeah.
The one where he shoots at a rocket, or was it the Super Caravan RPG, I think was the exact line. It'd be weird like that.
Yeah, that had that happen in there.
Yeah.
I didn't mention what happened slightly before that particular scene.
Oh god, what?
They were escaping an aircraft carrier, and so they put on the little catapult that launches the planes.
Alright.
They put a Jeep on there, and it launched the Jeep into the sky. It was basically, imagine the book version of Arnold Schwarzenegger's Commando. That's what it was.
Oh my god.
It was awesome.
Mm.
The writer is Matthew Riley, an Australian writer, actually.
I think I've heard that name before, actually.
He's actually a pretty cool guy. He actually owns a DeLorean that's been converted for like, I forget what, left-hand drive, right? I think.
Yes.
I'm trying to remember, because I never paid. No, right hand, there it is. Wherever, the weird swapped around, roads that you guys and they also have, for whatever reason.
One other thing I wanted to ask is, what do you think of I'm going to wrap this up very shortly, because I would have been on nearly an hour, I think. What do you think of the Jurassic Park franchise at them currently?
I've not seen Jurassic World, but I've heard good things about it.
It is.
The whole idea of having, like, Velociraptor super soldiers is pretty cool. That's actually from some of the comics.
All right.
That were from the 90s. But I was a big fan of Jurassic Park 1. I did not see that in theaters, mainly by virtue of the fact that I was 4 years old at the time.
All right.
But a year later, when I was 5 years old, we got it on VHS, and I watched it and quite enjoyed it as a kid. World, I saw that in theaters, actually.
All right.
Even though I was still a kid. I liked it, but I have to explain why I liked it.
Oh.
I did not like the character of Ian Malcolm or all the rest of those eco-terrorists. I liked the hunters, especially Pete Postlewhite's character. I thought he was really, really, really good.
Yeah, so did I, actually. Even though I actually admittedly quite like Sarah Harding, but then maybe that's just because I like Julianne Moore as an actress in more ways than one, potentially. But, I liked her perfectly okay. It's just I figured that, that movie, I think they sort of, like, took the first one and they slightly dumbed it down a little bit. Like, the first one had, actual intelligent scientific things going on in it. I think the second one, they just completely ditched that.
Yeah, they did.
At least it's better than...
That's not surprising, yeah.
At least it's better than the third one, which, ugh.
People hate the third one. I saw that in
Hi.
the theater as well. But I liked it. I liked it back then because I was the exact right age. I was the same age as the kid, so I was like, man, I can totally do that. Survive against all the dinosaurs.
Yeah.
But yeah, it wasn't as good. I will admit that.
God, yeah. I saw it recently. I saw it when I was about like 13. I really didn't like it then. And watching it a couple of years ago, when I was getting prepared to watch Jurassic World, I really didn't like it then either. And I remember some of the bits that made me very mad, like the part where where the Alan Grant wakes up with the thing, and then he sees a dinosaur go Alan, and I remember getting so angry at that point.
Yeah, that was pretty dumb. Whenever I watch a movie like that, though, I kind of block out the stupid bits and just remember the enjoyable ones.
Good point, but I just felt there was too many in Jurassic Park 3 to help with, especially when wasn't interested in the characters. I thought the action was a bit, wasn't very good. I don't think it was edited very well.
There was that problem, and then there was just the fact that there were some weird moments, like how creepy the brontosauruses looked. I actually saw that somewhat recent. I didn't see the movie somewhat recently, but I saw the scene recently. I was like, wow, those things are really creepy. It's like,
yeah.
Did they not know how creepy that looked?
I thought the effects were terrible in the third one. I mean, they looked like something out of like Dino Crisis or something like that. They didn't. I mean, the first two, I think the effects still hold. But the third one, they looked like, I remember seeing it for the first time, I thought they looked like clay, but then when I rewatched again, they just look like really awful things out of Dino Crisis, like one of the Dino Crisis games. It's, just not a good look.
Yeah, the graphics in the Jurassic Park 3 weren't as good. But I think the Spinosaurus still looked okay. The Velociraptor still looked decent. Compared to the first one, yeah, they did look, PS1 style, right? But compared to a lot of other movies, they still looked serviceable.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like The Mummy Returns or whatever, where we had Dwayne The Rock Johnson turn into like a crab creature, whatever the hell was going on.
Yeah, there you go. See, that's bad CGI. Jurassic Park 3, it's not as good CGI, I'd like to say. CG Dwayne, man, that was bad. I still like that movie, though, just because I'm a big fan of Mummy 1 and 2, just because...
What, the original ones or the new ones as well?
I've not seen the one with Tom Cruise, but I've definitely heard my grandfather saw it, and he thought it was complete crap, so...
I thought most people go, it's complete crap, actually. I watched a Nostalgia Critic review, which I found quite funny. Admittedly, I was a little bit annoyed at his Brexit joke, just because I get slandered with that all the time, but, that's beside the point. And yeah, that was actually the first review I think I've watched of yours, because I was with my dad on work experience at Northfields. Northfields, an London Underground train station, booking drivers on, and that was one of the first I ever watched of yours, and I've been a fan ever since.
So I'm glad you like the stuff, because I'm still making it. As of this interview, I'm actually working on Area 51, shooter from 2005.
Oh, okay. I was thinking you were referring to the original arcade game, which I, played back in, 2010, when I was, when me and my family went to Cornwall, in one of the pubs they had an Area 51 machine, and I remember quite enjoying playing that.
Everyone remembers that game, and it's good. I played that one in the arcade myself for many years. But Area 51, the FPS, is one that is criminally underrated. It is really, really good. It's the remake of that.
Yeah, I own that, actually.
Well, it's worth playing, I can tell you that, because the characters are pretty cool, the combat is really fun. There's a few minor quirks about it that I don't really like. Like, you have to dual wield if you pick up another gun, which is really annoying because you can't hit anything, and towards the end of the game, you have to try to be really accurate because the enemies can actually hit you. It's aged very well. I'm going to be reviewing the PC version, although back in 2005 I had the PS2 version.
That's the version I own, funnily enough. Admittedly, I'm not a big PC guy beyond MAME, and admittedly I have an old Windows 98 computer, which I still play stuff like the original House of the Dead and, what was it, Alien vs. Predator on, but, I can appreciate why, the power of the PC versus the console.
Yeah, I will actually mention, though, I do disparage consoles sometimes. The thing is, I've been a console gamer as long as I've been a PC gamer. I didn't have a really powerful PC, and so I've had the Xbox and the 360, and I really enjoy both of those. I would not want to own a modern-day console for a number of reasons, though. Just like the games, you can't just pop them in and have it run. You have to download all the updates and all the patches and things like that.
That's very true.
If I was going to get a console, I'd get the Nintendo Switch.
That's fair enough.
Because with that, all you gotta do is put game in, click play, and it runs.
Yeah, PS3 was very guilty of that, I think, because every other game I had to update it.
I never owned a PS3 to play current games. I do have a PS3, and I bought that strictly for Demon Souls and the Resistance series.
Yeah.
The rest I just didn't really care much about.
I remember what really good absurd story about the Resistance series actually, because in the first one, isn't there a level where they're playing like the Archbishop, like in Manchester Cathedral, I think it is.
Yeah, I've heard about that.
Yeah, where like they got in this country, we got really offended like that. That was even brought up in like the House of Commons during like the Prohibitionist question time when Tony Blair, they asked him about that. It's like, I mean, Christ, really?
It's an alternate history video game. It's not reality.
Yeah, I know. I mean, it's just so absurd. Like they had to bring it up to him, which I'm not sure you should be asking questions about moral sort of things to Tony Blair, but that's just my opinion, and the opinion of many other Brits.
I don't know enough about him to.
Very, very, very.
I don't know enough about him to have an opinion. So.
Indeed. Very many skeletons in the closet for that one. Okay, I'm just gonna wrap this up. But before that, I want to ask you one or two other questions. Like, who would you say like your favorite bands are? Favorite musicians?
My favorite heavy metal band.
Hey.
That I always think of first is Judas Priest. I've been a big
good
fan
pick.
of them for the longest of time.
Yeah, thank God, a metalhead at last.
That's what I've always been.
Mm-hmm.
Second favorite is Dio. Being part of Black Sabbath or just on its own.
Yep.
And really, the very first metal band I really listened to was Black Sabbath.
All right.
With Ozzy for the longest time, but recently I've started listening to a lot of Dio.
All right. Yeah.
And I know this is an old debate. I'll be finished in a second.
Sure.
It's an old debate. But I think I like Dio over Ozzy, despite having grown up with Ozzy.
I think I probably would agree with you, just simply because I like I prefer Dio's voice, and I always thought he was the better singer out of the two personally. I'm not I mean, even though Ozzy has the more classic songs, I think.
Yeah, he does have Ozzy does have the more recognizable voice, but yeah, Dio does sing better, I think. At least that's how I feel about it.
Yeah.
But man, that is an old debate, older than probably both of us. I don't know how old you are. But...
20.
Okay, yeah, so it is definitely older than both of us.
Yeah.
Something.
At least it's...
That was being... No, go on.
Oh, yeah, it's at least, a debate that could actually, be a debate as opposed to, like, say, if you were to ask me as an Iron Maiden fan, like, Bruce Dickinson of Blaze Bailey, well, that's really hard.
Although I've never listened to them.
Oh, you haven't listened to Iron Maiden?
No.
A lot of great albums, And I met their frontman, actually, the other day at a book signing, and so I got so nervous, and it was so cool.
Well, that's nice. Being able to go meet the people. I assume they're much small, just because I've never heard of them until literally just now.
Oh, really?
Oh, you're saying Iron Maiden. I
Yeah.
thought you said I have Aiden.
No.
Well.
No.
Oh, Iron Maiden. Yeah. Oh, wow. It's like, it must be one of those smaller bands. I have listened to them, but I'm not that big a fan of them. I like Fear of the Dark, but...
What, the album or the song?
Fear of the Dark song. I
Okay.
like that song. The rest I just never could really get into.
Yeah.
I'm not really sure why. But yeah, it's really cool to be able to meet them.
Yeah, but Bruce, because he's the only famous person I've really met that is either a reality star or politician, which I've met quite a few of. This country is, I've met many politicians. I would go over the names. I just, would skim over them. I don't know, like I've met Nigel Farage and Ian Douglas Smith and Emery Waters and stuff like that. And I also met a few reality stars because my cousin's in the know-how of that. But Bruce Dickinson was the first actual, sort of celebrity I've met, and at Waterstones in Piccadilly, I think, and I was so giddy meeting him, and it was such a privilege.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah.
I have Aiden.
Well, that's probably a metalcore band, or power metal band. Ugh.
Power metal is something I kind of got into, but I'm not. The drums are a little too discordant for me.
Yeah.
I've met a couple of famous people. I met some Star Trek actors.
All right, which ones?
Tim Russ, Robert Picardo, and the classic John Lotz.
I'm not a Trekkie, so I wouldn't know because I'm, illiterate.
I've been a big fan of Star Trek since I was a kid.
Fair enough.
Star Trek books aren't quite as good as you would think, though.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they never really quite capture the essence of Star Trek.
Mm-hmm.
But Tim Russ is a really cool guy. I actually talked to him for a while at a convention, And Robert Picardo, this is something I always like to bring up in any interview I'm in. I actually convinced Robert Picardo to see Pacific Rim. I
Wow.
was like, yeah, and that's only because it had Ron Perlman. I guess Robert Picardo is a Ron Perlman fan.
All right, fair enough. Well, that's something, I guess. The only thing I've done that's comparable to that is convince someone at a Full Britain meeting, I was at the political party of it, to see Sweet Sort of Success, which I was quite proud of.
Well, that works.
Yeah, and one other thing I just wanted to ask you is, just because I want to wrap this up, even though we could go on forever and ever, is what's your favourite song? I think I might just play that just to have it out.
Favorite song? Yeah. That's always hard to answer. Between the Hammer and the Anvil.
By who? Sorry, give me a second, just look it up.
It's a Judas Priest song.
Okay, give me a second, I'll just get that up, and yeah. Thank you for coming on the show. I'll just play it out as, okay, Between the Hammer and the Anvil, yeah?
Yep, that's the one.
Okay, sure, yep, just because I'm a bit cluttered here. Okay, give me a second. Alright then, I shall just play that song, and thank you very much for coming on, and despite all the technical glitches we had, and thank you very much, and I'll, if you want to, just, if you could tell people how they can contact you on, like, social media or stuff like that.
If you want to contact me, just go to the General Lotz Facebook page. That's the easiest way.
Okay, sure, yep. And thank you very much for coming on the show. And just to play this out, I'm just going to play a bit of Judas Priest and Between the Hammer and the Anvil, which is from the Painkiller album, I see. I need to listen to the Painkiller album. I really like the title track. And okay, I'll just play. Alright then, sure, yep. I'll just play that out, and thank you very much for coming on.
Yeah, it's enjoyable to be here.
Okay, sure, yep. See you later.